Get everything going. Boom. Dun, 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 dun. Come on. Where's chat? Whew. All right, let's see if we can get some people in here. When everything load. Man. All right, so I wanted to pop this in. We don't have this caliber of news that often. I was sitting here in studio. I was like, well, might as well pop this on before Ruskin and Zach, because I know you all would much rather hear about this than listen to Barton Hahn as we speak. But I just, again, going to kind of preview this before I let Derek and Zach take it over in about 30 minutes. Just a reminder, I know a lot of you listen to us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. If you're in Arkansas, we've got stations all over the state. We cover 2/3 of the state. If you're in Northwest Arkansas, it's 99.5 or 95.3. If you're in the River Valley, Fort Smith, Van Buren, Oklahoma surrounding areas, it's 95.3. 96.3 is more Central Arkansas and Hot Springs, that area, Mean, and all that. 104.3 Harrison, Mount Home, Marshall, kind of northern Arkansas, then always on hitthatline.com. And again, as many of you are doing right now, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And I feel like we're going to have a good chunk of people watching, and for good reason, because this is, I know, something that people are going to be sad / have an opinion about. And here's my opinion. Actually, I'll get into some of these first. David says, I can't blame him. He needs to be healthy for this season. Next year, it says he sucks. He loves the guy, but we'd love to see him in a bowl game, but he needs to recover. Natural State 420 says, that's cool, but it sucks. So you can have a variety of opinions about, if you're just jumping in with us, Treylon Burks has declared for the NFL draft, will not be participating in the bowl game via his Twitter. So he wanted to put out there. We had a conversation this morning on the show, and I was very, very open about the idea that he was moving on to the NFL. And I don't think a lot of people had pushback on that, but there were some people that said, oh, if he comes back in IL and stuff like that. And Tommy kind of went through the numbers and laid it out. And there's just so much more money to be made when him making his decision like he did. And am I a little disappointed that he's not playing the Outback Bowl? Absolutely. I think Arkansas's got to find some offense. We've seen this team struggle when he's not featured. So if you're Warren Thompson, if you're Davion Warren, if you're Tyson Morris, if you're Rocket Sanders in the passing game, if you're Bryce Stevens, all these guys that are playing behind him, not just in the same position, but in the pecking order of the first option, you're looking, not to say you don't want your teammate and your friend and your position group player to participate. You absolutely want that. But, dude, take it. I mean, it is there for the taking. KJ's played out of his mind as late. Penn State has a salty defense, allowing about 17 points a game. That's third in the Big Ten. It's very difficult to run on them. We'll see if Rocket, Dominique, Treylon, and AJ have success there. It's going to be up to the offensive line in front of them. Hopefully they'll be healthy for that football game. But this is big news, and it's the biggest news of the day. And again, if you're just jumping in here, we're kind of just doing a quick hog reaction. Derek and Zach are going to take over at 3 o'clock on ESPN Arkansas and hitthatline.com. So make sure you tune in for 4 full hours of reaction. Peyton says it's a very smart choice. Now, this is a new age thing, right? You're seeing more student athletes, more guys, not so much as girls. To be honest, I haven't seen a ton of female basketball players or female softball players do this, but I don't follow those sports as closely. So maybe it's more of a new occurrence and a new phenomenon there as well. But you are seeing certain guys elect to do this. And I was under the impression that he was going to play in the bowl game. I don't have a connection to Treylon. I'm not a Warren guy. I'm not highly connected with him at all whatsoever. I just was under the impression he was going to play. I assumed that he would declare for the draft at some point in this time, but he'd play in the bowl game. He did. Now, Jarius, I know, is going to have some fun with him holding over. Said that he holds a couple records over Treylon, but I think Treylon is moving on to that next phase, which is the NFL and preparing. And we talked about this earlier, him being beat up. Go back and watch how beat up he looked in the Alabama game. And I know in the Missouri game, he came right back and put over 100 yards on the board and either one or two touch. I know it was one. I know he had that third down, throw it up to him. He went and got it. I think he just had one touchdown. Maybe he had two in that football game. But he's been beat up all season. He's taken some brutal hits. It's not like KJ's put him in bad situations. He's just getting the ball a lot in a variety of different ways. Running it, passing it, catching it. They're feeding in the rock. And that's what you hope that Jaden Hazelwood could be this next season, the incoming 5-star from Oklahoma, originally from Georgia, played under Jimmy Smith. We'll just have to wait and see on that. I don't know what's going to happen with this offense next year. I'm still confident in it. I think KJ coming back and a good chunk of his skill players coming back is a huge part of that success. But again, we will have to wait and see on that. Now, David asked the question about Hazelwood. Will he be able to play in the bowl game? No, Jaden is not eligible to play in this upcoming Outback Bowl, but he will be eligible to play this next season thanks to the NCAA transfer rule. John says he gets it, but it would have been nice to see it at Penn State. Now, keep an eye on this. Burks is the first one to do this for the Razorbacks. There are 4 or 5 Penn State players that are debating if they're going to play in this bowl game, including the other dynamic wide receiver in this matchup. That would be Jahan Dotson. Does he play in this game? Does he see the guy across from him? And again, stay with me. I know it's not cornerback or safety, but the other opposing wide receiver, that's as good as he is, if not better. I'm speaking to Burks at this point. Does he say, and I'm now back to on Johnson's shoulders, he said, or Dotson's shoulder, you know what, Treylon's not going to play in this game. I don't want to play in it either. But this is now going to be an opportunity for the Arkansas wide receivers. Blake Kern, another pass catcher. Trey Knox, who's really stepped up this season. Trey Knox is kind of suddenly going on the radar. He hadn't put up 100 yards games, but he's made some big-time catches. And I think in a Kyle Pitts, I feel like we do this now the last year or so based on the season he had, based on the season he's having with the Falcons this year. It's like, what tight end can you make a Kyle Pitts type role? Kyle Pitts is a once-in-a-lifetime football player, but Trey has shown the ability that he can get open. He's been more physical, and I think he's going to put on some weight in the offseason. But we're talking about right now. Now, Paul declares it. He says, I hate it for him to really get hurt in the bowl game, and it hurt his draft stock, but for him, it seems selfish and sad is where he's coming from. I like to, when stuff like this happens, and I'm supposed to get on and give my opinion and give my take, what I try and do is I put myself in their shoes. Now, I've never been in a situation like Treylon is, where I'm up to make millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. I'd like to think, sitting here, that I would play, that I would finish out my teammates. And I know most of you will go back and say, well, Darren played in 2007 in the Cotton Bowl when they got crushed by Missouri. And that's a valid example, but times are changing, right? We see this in a lot of different areas. That doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it wrong, but that's what the world we live in currently right now. I would hope, if I was in this situation, that I would play this final game. But again, I'm not going to sit here because I've never, and tell you that I 100% would, because I've never faced a situation like this. I've never faced a situation where millions upon millions of dollars are on the line. And that's exactly what they are for this young man. Dylan says, go make the money. He's done his fair share for the university. Woo, pig suey. To Dylan's point, you look at what Treylon Burks has been, particularly the last 2 years. And it started against Georgia in that opening game. I think it was in the first quarter. Might have been the second. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. When he caught that touchdown from Felipe, Felipe's rolling out to his left, finds Treylon, and it changed everything. And you say, well, Ty, they lost that game. They did, and Georgia kind of took over. Stetson Bennett and company, and that defense took over in the second half. But that specific play gave you hope because he didn't have a single touchdown his freshman year. Tommy likes to call it coaching malpractice. I'm getting some text here as well. I'm trying to cycle through and roll through those. But Tommy likes to call the first year under Joe Craddock and Chad Morris coaching malpractice, and I can't disagree with that statement. And again, Jaden Hazelwood cannot play in this bowl game. I've got a couple texts in on that. Kent says, I'm at the end of the year and I've performed above commission goals. I will declare for a promotion now and opt out for the rest of the month in fear that I might lose customers from now to January. I'm trying to, hold on. I'll declare for promotion now. I've got the rest of the month. Ken, I'm in the commission field as well. I'm trying to read this and go over it at the same time, but I just get it. I just don't like it for the team. Yeah, team-wise, you can approach this a couple different ways. If you're Kendall Briles, one, you're thankful that this young man decided on Arkansas before you got here and you inherited him, right? Two, you talk to every single young man in that locker room, specifically the pass catchers. And I think the running backs, you can also include them in this mix. And you say, the alpha's gone. The big dog's gone. Which one of you is going to step up? Who wants to have the best closeout to 2021? I know the game's been played in 2022, but to close out this season, to set you up for a successful 2022, which one of you wants to take command and build that rapport, build that chemistry with KJ in this bowl game to get you going into spring ball, to get you going into fall camp, and to get you going into next season? This is an opportunity. People look at things different ways. I don't know if you're in that locker room and you catch passes or run the football, that you don't look at it anything but that. That's 100% how you have to approach this. That is an opportunity to get to play in this game without Treylon. Now again, most of those guys, they want him to play. That's their blood brother. That's their guy. They've been the wars, the trenches, all this stuff with. He's the one that's got him out in certain situations that when all hope seemed lost, he made a play. He stepped up. But you can feel that way about your teammate and still look at this as a chance for you to make some plays. That's how they have to look at this. If you want to comment on this, feel free. And I've actually got the phone line, Jerry, rigged up. We've got I'm going to do this up till last 2 or 3 minutes till Russ gets that, because I don't want to step on their toes or anything. But you can jump in here at 877-377-6963. I'll also set it up where you can text in as well to the program. I've got a lot of people commenting. I know some comments. I don't think Twitter, for some reason, pops up on my screen. So if you want to call or text in on this subject, you're more than welcome to it. 877-377-6963. Zach in Paragould says, good for him. Wish him the best. That's what Steven says. And I think a lot of you, based on the text I've read, based on the comments that I've read via Facebook, via YouTube, via Twitter, and Twitch, had said the same thing. This hurts, but I wish him nothing but the best. And I heard that similar thought when Moses Moody elected to declare for the NBA draft after his freshman season. He said, this hurts. You would have loved to see him stay for another year, but I understand, and it's for the best. And I think we're coming around on the idea these guys, and we got to get back to them being young men, because, again, it's just not as prevalent in women's sports as much. These young men, a lot of times, give everything they have to the University of Arkansas. And I think 3 years Treylon Burks has done that. He didn't have to choose the U of A. And I know he was a Warren kid. He's got the legacy with Jarius, Greg, Chris, and he's got that pride within him growing up a Razorback fan. This guy was offered all over the place, including Alabama, which I know Nick Saban would love to have him, especially losing John Mechie with an ACL injury. Excuse me, still trying to get rid of this cough. Heading in to this Final Four game with the Cincinnati Bearcats. He chose the University of Arkansas, and we, as a state and as a football program, have been better off because of his decision. And I said it this morning about the NIL stuff. I just couldn't foresee a scenario where that was the case. And I'm sure some of you, when you got that notification, I know some of you have the Treylon Burks notification on, or a friend texted you and said, did you see the Burks news or something of that nature? You said, man, is he coming back? That you're just a sliver thought, the slightest bit. That was your first initial thought. And then this. And again, it's a bigger thing. That's how it is. That's exactly how it is this morning. Jeffrey brings up it's their life, not ours. Yeah, and again, I've been relatively pleased with Arkansas fans, how they've responded to this, how they responded to Moses' stuff, because I don't think it was always that way, right? I think there's been years where fans, and I'm not just directing this at the Arkansas fan, but I think it's overall, but they call people selfish and they say this and they said that. And to my knowledge, I don't think I've ever done that. I've kind of looked at the situation and said, if I was in their shoes, what would I do? And again, I said earlier, I would hope that I would play this season out, but I'm not set to make the money that Treylon Burks is. I'm just not. So I can't definitively stand on the ledge, take that next step, and tell you that that's what I would do. Because I don't know what I would do. I don't at all. I just know that this is the biggest news of the day. And then we had to step on here just a little bit before Rusky and Zach to tell you about it. Again, they're coming up at 3 o'clock. Make sure you listen to that. I'm sure a good chunk of the 3 hours will be on that. Now, Paul brings up Burks will always be a hog. And there's one thing that listening would not do the same without getting paid to, or Burks, the excitement that he brought to all the Hog fans. You think about the plays that he's made this season, the big-time games he showed him in. Alabama, arguably his best game of the season, the touchdown passes, a stiff arm where he threw that Alabama to the corner, the floor and the field like he was a rag doll. Was it 55-yard touchdown back shoulder throw that he outraced 5 Alabama defenders to the end zone? This guy's just special. He's just different. When you look at his body, you look at his frame, and you see him go that fast, it doesn't compute with your head, right? It doesn't make any sense. But that's how he is. That's the measurables he's put up. Now, where is he going to get drafted? I mentioned Dotson, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. There are a lot of, and I don't remember if it's Wilson or Jackson Smith-Enigma that's draft eligible this year. I mixed those two guys up. There's some really good wide receivers. Jameson Williams, I think he's draft eligible this year. I'll have to come back and double check on that. There's some really, really talented guys. We'll have to see where Burks ends up. I'm going to close it out here. Got about, 10, 15 minutes in. Again, I just wanted to react and touch on that and share with you my opinion on that. Reminder, Tommy and I will have a lot of this discussion tomorrow at 6 a.m. on ESPN Arkansas. HitThatLine.com. Derek and Zach coming up at 3 o'clock, so make sure you stay tuned for that on ESPN Arkansas and HitThatLine.com. Just a quick hog reaction to this news. Hope everyone's having a great day. And again, make sure you're monitoring updates on HitThatLine.com. Andy will keep that up for you up to date. Everyone take care.